Exo, what are you doing up there?
Guessing? I guess no one's listening?
How can they listen if you are up there in the crow's nest instead of down here in the con? Please get down here.
Aye, aye, Captain!
Good rewinders, lend me your ears as you listen to this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast. Disgusting.
Reflux capacitor, fluxing, crew to stations. Scanning for Robin Hood Men in Tights, 1993. Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders.
I hope it's worth the noise.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners to the Retro Rewind podcast, where, yes, it is worth the noise, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your Exo and mine, Paul, the Master Interrupter Powers.
Hey, I'm back!
Also, for this discussion of the film Robin Hood Men in Tights, we welcome back aboard Administrative Assistant, Kingdom Hearts, and Star Wars fan, Ashley Cronbitter, a.k.a. the D-Pad Destroyer.
Hi again, everybody.
Hi, Ashley. And Ashley, since this is your third time on the pod, do you know what that means?
Do I?
Do you?
No.
That means you have now been promoted to shipman. Congratulations on your promotion
Huzzah!
to a official rank on the ship. What department would you like to specialize in?
Is there one that I can?
You can choose whatever. There's entertainers, there's clergy, there's yeoman. Yeoman's
Whatever.
kind of like administrative stuff. So if you want it to be like the same as what your job is, you could do that.
Let's do it.
Okay, yeoman. Okay.
Sure thing.
You're gonna be serving under officer yeoman badge. I know there's such a thing as officer yeoman.
He needs help.
Yes, exactly. So awesome! Thank you for becoming the newest shipman, Ashley, and congratulations on your promotion. Now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of the production specs for Robin Hood Men in Tights?
You say the titles now, and so it totally ruins it if I say something else.
Uh-huh,
All right.
uh-huh.
Fine. Robin Hood Men in Tights was released July 28th, 1993. Runs an hour and 44 minutes and is rated PG-13. It was directed by Mel Brooks. Shocking, in case you didn't know. It was written by J.D. Shapiro, Evan Chandler, and Mel Brooks there with the writing.
Yeah,
but the lead stars being Carrie Elways, Richard Lewis, and Roger Reese.
Mm-hmm.
The music was composed by Hummy Man. And are you ready for the box office game?
Ready. Are you ready, Ashley? Awesome.
Aye.
And chat,
Okay.
feel free to join in as well.
Robin Hood Men in Tights was made for $20 million. Wow. And earned almost $36 million at the box office.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah. So given this and the fact that there are 10 theatrically released Mel Brooks films, that's with Mel Brooks being the director, how high do you think Robin Hood Men in Tights ranks among the 10 Mel Brooks films?
That's a good question. Ashley, what do you think?
I think it's somewhere right in the middle. I'm going to go with 5.
5, okay. And chat, I assume Bob was going to guess 42. 3, what?
Yes,
Bobby,
out of
you
10.
always guess 42. Come on. He guessed
Can't
that
guess
3 is
42
right in
when it's 10. You can't. It doesn't even out.
3's right in between 4 and 2, so that makes sense.
3. I'm going to actually go a little lower because I remember when I first saw the ads for this thinking, so my guess is that everyone agreed with me. So I'm going to say 7. And then
Okay.
So we got 5, 3, and 7. Paul, what is the actual number ranking of the top 10 Mel Brooks movies?
Well, Ashley hit it right on the head. The number is 5.
Oh, good job, Ashley.
Huzzah!
Do you want to say? Oh, how about can you tell us where Young Frankenstein, which we've covered, and Spaceballs, which we've covered, are on the list?
Young Frankenstein is 2, and Spaceballs is 3.
Ooh, that
So
makes
what's the number 1, you ask?
well.
It's
What?
it's Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. That makes sense. Okay. Cool beans. All right. Well, thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind melt or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we will get into once Alice has located our target film. I mean, we gotta wait for that.
Alert, alert. Approaching target. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
Hello, Alice.
20th Century Fox presents
Ow! I challenge you to a duel.
the first action hero
I accept.
and the last word in comedy.
White men can't jump.
Robin Hood, Men in Tights.
And why should the people listen to you?
Unlike some other Robin Hoods, I can speak with an English accent.
A Mel Brooks film. The legend had it coming. Rated PG-13. Starts Wednesday, July 28th at theaters everywhere.
That didn't look good to you?
Yes, the legend may have had it coming. No, it didn't. I don't know why. But I wonder if the legend stayed firm in our memory mind melded heads. So let's find out by getting into our memory mind meld synopsis of Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Oh gosh, the Dread Pirate Roberts breaks out of prison with Dave Chappelle, and they go to England, where Prince John and Sheriff Rottingham have taken all his stuff. Robin, Achu, and Blinken from the Merry Men form the Merry Men to combat Prince John's tyranny. Robin loses the archery contest, or does he? Dun dun dun. The tomahawk chop. See, it isn't racist. This movie well documents when and why toilets began to be referred to as John. Because he stinks at being a ruler. But he is in good company with a latrine for having bathroom facilities named after them. A lot of that, I would say, is accurate, but there was one glaring thing that was deceptive, and that would be he doesn't meet Dave Chappelle's character Achu in the prison. He meets Isaac Hayes' character a sneeze in the prison. So
Yeah.
I don't know which of you misremembered. I mean, I'm sure
I
it
don't
wasn't
know,
me.
but all 3 of us remembered the toilets being referred to as John.
That's pretty funny.
Indeed.
But based on those memories, as somewhat flawed as they were, what rating did they lead us to predict for this film before rewatching it? Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Let's start with our guest, Ashley. What was your prediction?
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Paul?
I have not seen this movie before rewatching it now in over 20 years. And I remember liking it before, but I didn't have a deep desire to rewatch it again, or even a mild desire to watch it again. So I'm going to go right in the middle and say nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Now, for me, it was actually, I did want to see it again, but I kept thinking, well, we're going to cover this on the podcast. So and me and Paul try to wait like 2 years before we,
At
if
least.
we can, before we cover something on the podcast from the last time we've seen it. So I kept like thinking, well, this might come up and I don't want to like have to make us wait or something. But that never happened until Ashley, who awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley, for picking this as your patron pick, that we
Yay.
finally get to cover it. But that's what, so I did want to see it. So my prediction was classic. It will be interesting to see if those predictions came true. But first, let's get into our
Did
discussion.
you say twill be interesting?
I did not.
Was that a
Twill.
direct reference?
Twilby.
It will be interesting to see if those predictions come true. But first, let's get into our discussion of the things we liked most about Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Let's spin up our
Best 3.
best 3. And let's begin with our guest, Ashley. What is something you liked about Robin Hood, Men in Tights?
Okay, with most Mel Brooks movies that I've seen, and I've only seen 3 of them, I really enjoy the music. It was really
Yes.
memorable because you have that Men in Tights theme where they sing about we're men in tights. And then you also have the Sherwood rap that like opens up the whole film.
Yes.
And that is just interesting, gives you a little foreshadowing of what's going on, and it's done really well, and they dance and they sing and they're like, hey. And then there's that silly Maid Marian's song, and it's just, I remember the first time seeing that movie, I was probably about 10.
Uh-huh.
We had rented it from Blockbuster. I was visiting family, and I remember just like singing that song, memorizing the melody and just singing it and making up words.
Nice.
It's a great melody.
Yeah, it's a pretty good melody. And then even the song that's not an original song, they just re-recorded it for the movie that Robin lip syncs to, The Night is Young and You're So Beautiful. It's just, the music stays with me, and the instrumental was really nice as well because it kept playing those melodies from all the different original songs. So it was really memorable to me.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like the score by Humming Man too. If I had a fourth thing, that was going to be my fourth one. Yeah, it was the score.
I definitely enjoyed the music. I actually think that I prefer Maid Marian's sort of the romantic song. I think I prefer that to Bryan Adams' Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Everything I do.
Yeah, I mean, that one's almost, it's weird. That one's, they're both sappy, but this one is in a much more like just joyful way. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, I don't know. But that wasn't one of the things I liked.
I was going to say, did you stick around after the credits and listen to the re-recorded version where it was a duet?
No.
That version of the Marian song during the credits was pretty interesting as well.
Oh, I don't remember if I did. I can't recall. But regardless,
it wasn't memorable.
No, but
apparently not.
Something that was memorable for me were the three sort of baddies of Prince John, the Sheriff of Rottingham, and Latrine. I just liked their sort of trifecta interplay. It was fun. They made a good team, I think, of villains, and I enjoyed watching them on screen. I think I recalled as a kid finding them not as interesting, but as an adult, I definitely enjoyed them for what they brought to this movie. Paul, were any of the characters, as you said, the music would have been your fourth thing. Were any of the characters or anything like that something that did make your top three list?
I said, hey.
Hey.
I said, hey.
Hey.
Hey, nani, and a ho, ho, ho.
Are we really going to do this?
Yes.
No. I really enjoyed I'll call it the stage production, because I thought like the sets, especially like inside the castle, everything looked real and practical.
Real?
It
looked like a play. It looked like a very well dressed play. I wouldn't say it looks real.
Yes. Well, I will say I like. Okay, it doesn't look like a
it doesn't
high
look
school play.
No, it doesn't look authentic.
Okay.
It doesn't look like they're in an actual castle. It looks like
right.
Okay.
Well, for example, like their costumes, that doesn't look like, oh, they're like really in the like medieval times, so it's all worn and dirty.
Yeah,
but I do enjoy the style of it.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
So that's what I mean by the stage production. I thought the makeup was good, especially on Latrine.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh, totally. Tracy Ullman, yes.
So
yeah,
so I'm calling it the stage production, if it's even the right term.
No, yeah, the production design, I'd say, is more what you're talking about.
That's probably the more official way to go.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. Ashley, was there something about the looks of this movie that appealed to you, or was there something else that made your like list?
That would have been a fourth
of
mine, honestly.
Switch.
But another thing that I really liked, you're talking about the three characters, the trio of baddies, and they had some memorable dialogue. That was something that really stood out to me. Even looking back to like the very first time that I saw this movie, like years after, there was this scene where Robin had just made it into the castle during their feast, and the Sheriff of Rottingham takes a glove and slaps him across the face and says, "I challenge you to a duel." And then Robin takes this metal glove, hits him over the head, and says, "I accept." And I don't know, I would quote that randomly over the years. As a kid into my teenage years, and even now I still occasionally do.
That's
so
awesome.
that was like one example of something that really stood with me. And then of course you have the various references of Achu and everyone just saying bless you to him. And
did you say a Jew?
And then even
Achu.
yes, Achu. And then even everything earlier where you're saying, "Hey, Blinken, did you say Abe Lincoln?" And just all these little quirky lines. They're just so fun and memorable, and they just stay with you, even if you haven't seen the movie in like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, me and Chrissy, and I think even me and Paul would do the whole Abe Lincoln. I didn't say Abe Lincoln, I say, "Hey, Blinken, hold the reins." And just for, I don't know why, we'll just randomly quote that. Very cool. Okay. Paul, were there any quotable things that stayed with you to this day?
Yeah, I had memorable dialogue for number 2. So instead, I will say there were effects in here that kind of blew me away that I wasn't expecting. Kind of like
what?
Like when they started moving that castle, I'm like, that looks real. Like, how are they doing that? But then I thought about it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's not 3-dimensional. It's probably just a wall.
The front, yeah.
Right?
And then as it passes, they build that other part that looks like the back. But
yeah. But it's still like, even when like the people rushed them on stage when they were on the hanging nooseman's stage, and then the swordsman dove at them and fell to the ground, and then they were like sticking up in the air with their swords in the ground. Like, how did they do that? I don't see wires or anything like that.
Well, I would imagine it's wires, but maybe not.
Blew this simple mind away, okay? And I enjoyed it.
So you didn't even have to turn your brain off. It was just like, oh my gosh, how
it was already off. And so it blew me away.
All right. Very fair, I suppose. Well, you know what? Speaking of that, my second like, before we get to our classic makers, were just the plethora of gags. I mean, so that the swords one didn't really get me, but I'll just like rapid fire several of these. I just love the Hollywood England sign at the beginning.
Yes.
The let's see, the 6 arrows he's shooting at the guards. You've seen The Last of Us. The kazoo soldiers with the Sheriff of Rhineham. The camera breaking through the stained glass on Maid Marian.
Although that was ill-timed. That should have been broke through way before then, because
we'll get to some of that later, Paul. Don't.
You mentioned that gag in the likes, and I'm saying that's a dislike for me.
Fine. I like the breaking of the fourth wall, so I gotta put that.
Okay. It's good to be the king. That kind of breaking of the fourth wall.
And the checking the script. No, that's fine. Yes.
Yeah.
But when they all rip out their scripts,
check the script. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I enjoy the fourth wall breaking. I enjoy just lots of the gags that are put in like that. But what did we enjoy most about Robin Hood Men in Tights? Let's go back to Ashley. What's your classic maker for this movie?
Okay. My classic maker were all of the just over-the-top moments.
Oh, okay.
And ones that come to mind when we're first introduced to Little John, and he is standing on this bridge over this bitty creek, and you're wondering, why is there a bridge over such a shallow amount of water?
Yeah.
And he and Robin have their exchange, and then they're dueling with these wooden sticks, and then they whittle it down, and then they just look at it, and then they throw it, and then they use the smaller and smaller pieces, and then eventually they're like hitting each other on the wrist and hitting each other, and then he hits him on the head. And then the next over the top moment is when he falls into the creek, and he's like flailing all about, and he says, help me, I can't swim, I'm drowning, and he's just freaking out. And it's just one of the most ridiculous things I have seen, but I probably laughed hardest in the movie at that point, just because it was so silly.
Yes.
And another bit that was over the top, where when we're having exchanges with Latrine, and she has the likeness of the Sheriff of Rottingham, and the cardboard cutout, its facial expression changes when she makes references about how she's attracted to him, and how she would give anything to make him hers. And it's just, all those little bits, they're just so funny to me, and they're so memorable.
Looks like a satyr at Vincent Price's house. Which, as a kid, I had no idea what a satyr was. I didn't get what that was, and now I know.
I still don't know. Isn't that like part? Isn't that a mythical creature?
No, not a satyr. A satyr is when it's what Jewish people do now. they like have a meal. I think I don't know if it's connected with Passover, but it's where they have a meal and they set like an empty chair for the prophet Elijah to come back, I think. And so it's just a Jewish.
All right,
custom.
I'll Google it.
All right, do you do that, Paul?
All right,
but yeah, that's I totally can get behind that classic maker, Ashley. Paul, how about you? What did you love most about Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Here's a bonus thing.
I didn't say your bonus. I said classic maker.
Oh, okay. Well, here's a bonus thing. If you ever think about this, here you have Dave Chappelle working with Lil Jon, and later he does one of the best impressions of Lil Jon. But anyway, the best thing that I like about this movie is the cast. And there are some people I like. It's like, but like Carrie Elways is probably my favorite Robin Hood of all time.
Oh wow, better
well,
than Russell Crowe?
Oh yeah. Oh, I mean, come on. This was at the height of Carrie Elways' career, in my opinion. I was actually kind of hoping, looking back on it, it kind of made me sad because I was kind of hoping like
he would
have someone like Brendan Fraser's career. Not that I don't like Brendan Fraser. I think he did great, but those action slash comedy type action adventure roles. Yeah, I would have loved to see him more in.
Totally. But, I don't know what happened. I agree with that.
I thought Latrine was great, Tracy Ullman, and I thought Prince John, that was a nice different take on him.
Yes, Richard Lewis's take, yes.
I thought a lot of the cast was really, really well done, or at least high quality, and it was fun to watch.
Totally. Well, I'll just go right off of that because I loved a lot of the cast too, but in particularly, like you mentioned, Carrie Elways was my classic maker. He had such great charisma in this, I felt like.
Oh yeah.
He had really good comedic timing, and he just worked really, really well for both going as sort of a, not really a straight man, but him and Chappelle had a great dynamic, and him and Richard Lewis, and also I'm forgetting your name, Sheriff of Rhineham, Roger Rees. I think he played off both of them really well too. Hands down, Carrie Elways was my classic maker I don't know. I'm trying to think if he would be my favorite Robin Hood too. He might be. I don't know if I'd say this is my favorite Robin Hood movie, but yeah, I think he might be my favorite Robin Hood.
Yeah, I don't know if he can beat Disney's Fox, but I think he can.
What about...
Those are the only two Robin Hoods I've ever seen, so he's automatically number one.
There you go.
He outfoxes the fox.
Hey, Francisco, we have a question from the audience.
Ooh, okay.
Why should the people listen to you?
Because unlike other Robin Hoods, I can speak with a British accent.
Or is it English?
Bite me, whatever. We'll get to there in a second. I will say, oh man, I lost it. Thanks a lot, Paul. We had a question from the audience. That wasn't a question from the audience.
I thought
you were in chat, but no. Sorry, chat. I thought Paul was going to address you guys, but no. Apparently, he doesn't care.
I threw off your groove about throwing off your own groove.
Oh, okay. Oh, I remembered. What if we could get Carrie Elways to record the dialogue of Fox for like a redo of whenever they make a traditionally animated Robin Hood, Disney, not a live action remake, traditionally animated HD amazement with Carrie Elways being the voice.
I was there with you 100% of the way until last week.
Oh,
I still am 100. I am still not a live action remake.
Yeah.
But if they do a 3D remake, like, but they use the style of Zootopia, the way they did those rabbits and the foxes in that.
I haven't seen Zootopia, so I don't know.
Well, watch it.
The animation is very clean and it looks really good, and I can definitely see them doing a version of that. Okay. I would watch that.
Yes. Don't do this Lady and the Tramp remake with live dogs. Do the 3D remake with,
All right. Fair enough. Okay. Well, you know what, guys? I'm glad we got through all the things we liked. Now we can get on to the things we didn't like, except... Oh.
Oh, yeah. Guess what? The Dapper Man said that Carrie Always did do that at Comic-Con 5 years ago.
Whoa, really? That's amazing. That's really cool.
Gotta check that out. See if we can find it.
Yeah, but that's actually not why I forgot, because I didn't know that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd you forget?
Something else I forgot was Strangers and Aliens. This is a conversational podcast and blog that explores the relationship between God and man through the lens of speculative and imaginative fiction. I joined Ben Avery, Dr. Jace O'Neill, and Steve McDonald, a trio of Christians who are both fans and creators of story, in their conversation about the intersection of faith and imagination. Find them at strangersandaliens.com.
That's great, Francisco. But what do strangers and aliens have to do with Robin Hood Men in Tights?
This is as clear. How'd you not know this, Paul? How'd you not know
Yeah,
this?
I don't.
Robin and Achu were strangers at first, and then they became friends. And Achu
one's an illegal
was
alien?
an alien
What?
in England, though he was an exchange student, so he wasn't probably illegal. But
Okay, there we go.
yeah, so
All right.
it's like so obvious. Kind of,
Wow.
maybe
Not enough.
Okay, would some trivia be more obvious for you, Paul?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Here we go, guys. This is kind of a long one, so buckle up.
Okay.
Did you
Good.
all
I
realize?
can't wait to interrupt.
Would you stop? Did you all realize that Patrick Stewart plays a King Richard?
There's another someone I forgot. He was excellent casting there at the end.
He was. And I'm
Anyway,
sure you
continue.
all do realize this because you watched the movie. But in case you're just listening to this and haven't seen the movie, Patrick Stewart, Captain Picard himself, plays King Richard, and he talks in a thick Scottish accent, which is a reference to Sean Connery's performance in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Sorry, Ashley, I think you said you didn't see that. So spoilers, he's in that one for a little bit.
Sounds great.
Okay, some critics
Womp womp.
found Connery's accent inappropriate for the role, since King Richard would not have spoken with a Scottish burr. Technically, an English accent would have been no more appropriate than Connery's Scottish accent, and a French accent would have been the best for Richard and any other nobles of the time, possibly including Robin, as English, quote-unquote, did not exist as a language, and English nobles spoke Anglo-Norman, a dialect of Old French, while the common folk spoke Old English, an Anglo-Frisian tongue that was more in common with Old Norse than with modern English. So Paul's falling asleep, so now here's your question, Paul. Wake up.
All that's baloney, because if anyone's ever tried to read the original transcript of Beowulf, you can't, regardless if you're French or English.
We're not talking about Beowulf. If you, Paul, or you, Ashley, could speak any old or ancient language or dialect, which would it be?
I would speak the language that everyone spoke before the Tower of Babel.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, all right. How about
Does
you,
it
Ashley?
have to be an ancient language? Can it be a language that still exists today, but very few people speak it? So it's still archaic, but most people don't understand it?
Like the New Latin?
I'll allow
No, not that. Okay, so if we can go with that answer and accept it, I would want to speak Basque. And it's an interesting language to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
It's in, I believe it's northern Spain.
I was going to say Spain. Yeah. That sounds right.
It's an old archaic Spanish language that only one province of Spain speaks. And it always seems super interesting to me because it is completely disconnected from Spanish.
Okay. Well, cool, guys. Now, here's a follow-up question. Would you trade in the ability to, let's say you got that, you had that ability to speak in those languages. Would you trade those in if you could do an awesome Sean Connery impersonation?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Of course not. I already do.
I love Sean Connery.
Well, there you go.
Of course.
Klingon, Bobo, that's a modern language. That's a future language. You can't. That doesn't count. Oh, ancient Norwegian, says the Dapper Man. Nice. Okay. Is that
very cool?
Is that essentially Norse?
Ancient Klingon that's been around for hundreds of years.
Gosh, Paul.
All right. Great trivia, Francisco. And I have the answer to our last audience question.
Ooh, fantastic.
which again was a long one. Okay. So, but basically, to sum it up, how does one nominate a movie to be voted on by the Rewinders for us to review?
Yeah, and here we had a couple answers. So I'll spin the wheel right quick here. Just 1 second, guys.
Wheel of trivia. Turn, turn, turn.
Test.
Tell us the answer that we should learn.
And the correct answer came from Drew Dodgen. Congratulations, Drew. So you'll get a free subscription to our Twitch subscription to our Twitch channel. And here was his answer. Bobo also entered, and he had a great answer as well. In fact, his came from Abraham Lincoln. I don't know how he managed that, but
wow, that's impressive.
Yes, but I'll go ahead and read Drew's. So, step 1. Open your internet browser. Step 2, type in www. Actually, you don't need the wwws, but retrorewindpodcast.com. Step 3, click vote, which is at the top. Step 4, scroll down and click the link that reads polls page here under the correct poll. Step 5, scroll down to leave a comment. Step 6, enter your name. Step 7, enter your email address. Step 8, if you want to, enter your website address. Step 9, write your nomination in the text box marked your comment. Try to keep it under 4,000 characters. Good tip. Step 10, click submit comment. Awesome. Thank you so much, Drew, for making it very clear to everyone. So I'm sure everyone's rewinding now, going to the site and going step by step, pause, play, pause, play, pause, play. Aren't you? You're doing that right now, aren't you, Robin? Okay. Good to know.
Everybody got that?
Good. When will the princess be married?
Within the hour.
Well, I hope it's a long ceremony, because it's going to be a short honeymoon. Ah, dang it. Lost it. Honeymoon.
That's what you get for quoting another Mel Brooks film. Speaking of another Mel Brooks film.
Yes.
Here is this episode's listener question. What is your favorite Mel Brooks movie?
Ooh, yeah. So send your answers to trivia at retrorewindpodcast.com by the time we record the next episode, which gives you usually a week and a couple days. But now that we have all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Paul, will you start us off, please?
Sure. Patrick Edwards, Kristen Rich Victor, and Drew Doggan posted images and GIFs and videos. Really? We're
I wanted to because they didn't write any actual text, but I wanted to recognize that they added to the conversation visually.
Thank you for participating. Yay!
Participation trophy. Congrats.
No, but those images are fun. We
yes.
do appreciate the interaction.
Exactly. Celeste Morris says, tight tights.
I think it's tight tights.
Whatever.
Anyway. Oh, it's very particular.
Tight
Even Patrick
tights.
Edwards knows when he says, call the locksmith.
Call the locksmith.
Patrick Kramer says, I'd put it just outside Brooks's top 5 films. That makes me very curious what your top 5 films are, Patrick.
Yeah. Stanley Wright says, excellent watch. Thanks. It keeps on time.
Oh my gosh. Stephanie Russell says, this movie has some great quotes as well. Totally.
Yeah. Wardell White says, Thor being in it as Little John. Yep. Eric Kramer played the Thunder God with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno in the TV sequel, The Incredible Hulk Returns from 1988. Other than that, I also remember Carrie Elways as Robin Hood before being stalked by a clueless Batgirl, or being the first victim of Jigsaw from the Saw franchise. And the mole on Richard Lewis's face kept changing places. Probably only one of 2 movies that Mel Brooks I have ever seen.
Oh, really? I wonder what the other one is, Adele.
And I'm so frustrated. I was going to have a mole that I was going to move throughout the recording of this podcast.
That would be amazing.
And I totally forgot. So I
That's okay.
apologize for the fail on that.
You're forgiven, Paul. No worries.
Thank you.
The Fat Man _0808 says, one of the best comedies ever made. Mel Brooks is a freaking genius when it comes to comedy. Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart eyes emoji, heart eyes emoji.
Sir X Rome says, watch this so many times with friends in my fencing class.
Oh, nice.
Some of my friends actually reenacted entire scenes. Never forget that my buddy at Branson Boykin actually did the Men in Tights song and danced to audition for the school play.
Oh, fun. Michael Fraley says, I've worked enough Ren fairs to tell you the rest of you men that tights are particularly comfy and always have a great contrast to the double and poofy sleeves. Try it once and you'll trade in ye old pantaloons.
Is that like Spanx nowadays? That's what I figured.
I don't know. Sure.
Nathan James Norman says, hey, Blinken, did you say hey, Blinken? And also adds, I made the Men in Tights song my Windows startup sound when I was a teenager.
Nice.
The entire song. Wow. To this day, I can still sing it in its entirety. Men in Tights feels like the American version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Womp womp to Francisco.
Reed Benson says, I don't think I've ever seen the whole thing. All I remember is the camera breaking Maid Marian's window during her song, the merry men singing, we are men in tights, and a blind guy attacking a tree. I should probably watch it all sometime, huh? Well, I don't know, Reed. Maybe there's good reasons you wouldn't want to watch it all. In fact, let's talk about some of those reasons. Because your comment leads us right into the things we didn't like about Robin Hood Men in Tights. That's right. It's time for our...
Worst 3.
Wait a minute. I have an idea. Maybe if you tell me the bad news in a good way, it won't sound so bad.
The bad news in a good way.
Yes, I can do that. Yes, bad news in a good way, yeah. Well, here goes.
Okay, Ashley. Give us the thing you dislike in a good way.
I don't know that I can do that because my first dislike, it rubbed me the wrong way that I don't know that I could say very many nice things about this particular element.
Ooh.
So,
wow.
So, Paul, wait. Paul, listen carefully because I'm going to request you tell us what Ashley says in a nice way.
Oh, okay, sure, I can do that.
Okay, so I know we had been talking about the characters that we liked, so let me segue into talking about a character that I did not like in this movie. It would be the token female of the movie outside of Broomhilda, but Maid Marian. I am not a fan of Maid Marian.
Wait, time out. The character or the actress?
It's the portrayal of Maid Marian. So it's more of Amy Yazbek's portrayal of Maid Marian. Okay. This film had a dialect coach, but the type of accent that she used as Maid Marian just made me cringe because it was so over the top in comparison to all of the other American actors that were using English.
It was terrific.
Yeah, so she goes, well, if it were you, it would be terrific. And the way that she would say, oh, Robin, I'm so happy. And it just drove me up a wall. It every time she spoke, I cringed a little bit. And that was the choice that they went with when they had a dialect coach, and all of the other English accents from the non-British actors were actually done fairly well. And she was just portrayed as this lovesick teenager, and she sang about the man having the key to her heart, and she stumbled over the words, alluding to something else. And when she first meets Robin, she's just like goo-goo eyes, and she's this love-struck teenager, and she just can't help but get caught up in her feelings for Robin, even though she's just met him.
Hey, have you seen Carrie Elways in person? I mean, come on.
Look, I mean, he looks at you with those dreamy eyes, and you can't help but fall in love. Paul, okay, tell us Ashley's bad news in a good way.
All right. So, Amy Yazbek's portrayal, did not make me so happy.
You blew it.
Oh.
Okay, but while we're on the topic of Maid Marian, this was like fourth on my like list, but since we're here, this was the first time I've seen this movie at least a handful of times. This is the first time I actually put two and two together. Did she ever go to the bathroom? How'd she go to the bathroom?
Out the sides.
Oh, don't tell me that.
You asked.
Because she doesn't have a key to unlock her Everlast. So yuck. Okay. So anyway, let's move past that quickly. Let's go to something Paul didn't like about Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Going back, just to be different, this was actually probably, I was going to say my favorite rendition of Maid Marian. I like the character. I like the portrayal. I think the accent was supposed to be over the top kind of a thing. I thought it was supposed to be for comedy, but I will say the Robin Hood's Fox is a little bit better. Anyway, moving on to something else.
I think Mary Master Antonio is the best Maid Marian. I really enjoyed her.
What a
yes.
dud. Anyway, something to do with curly hair. I'm sure your brother would agree. I'm not against curly hair, but that's
anyway,
just
Paul.
an inside joke.
Yes.
Okay.
Go back and listen to Groundhog's Day if you want to.
There we go.
Be caught up on the joke.
Anyway, something I didn't like. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Thank you. You can address chat.
Yeah, Dapperman says the lock and key was meant to be a joke towards Errol Flynn. He would have sex with so many women on set, so this was a sharp jab at Robin Hood not. Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. And he thanked you for something, Ashley. I assume he didn't like Maid Marian, maybe, but
yeah,
maybe he didn't like Amy Yazbek's portrayal.
Yeah,
it didn't make him so happy.
Oh my god! Have you figured it out yet, Paul?
Yeah. So one of the things that I didn't really care for is that I know a lot of people like. I said the cast is my number one pick.
Yeah,
but a lot of the cast, in fact, I would say over half of the cast, I just found not interesting. And I know someone already mentioned Sheriff of Rottingham. I think the actor did good, but to me, he's not memorable.
Oh,
maybe that's because maybe that's because I don't know him from other things. Like I know some of the other actors from other things.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like hit or miss. Like I enjoyed Broomhilda, but I don't know if that's because I've seen her from other movies as well. You know, that kind of thing. So maybe there was just a lack of recognition from other cast members where I thought they could have brought in more of a, like I said, some of the cast is very A star, and I think unfortunately there's a lot of B and maybe even C actors in it.
All right, that's fair. And Sheriff of Rottingham, played by Roger Rees, he's been in several things, some things you may have seen, but he actually passed away in 2015. So
way to speak ill of the dead, Paul.
Yeah, nice one there. But you brought up Broomhilda, so I'll just go with it. I did not enjoy her as Marian's maidservant. I'm not sure what her role was.
Oh, come on.
Lady in waiting, Francisco. Lady in waiting.
Okay, fine. Excuse me, Ashley. Thank you. I appreciate the correction.
Yes.
But yeah, you know what? I don't know something about her, and I don't mind the actress so much because I think she was an interesting actress in A League of Their Own. But yeah, something about her in this performance or that character, I think, just rubbed me the wrong way. I did not enjoy it. She was unlikable, really, to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I enjoyed her more in this film than I did League of Her Own.
Well, that's fine. It's almost like she was the Dot Matrix character from Spaceballs, trying to keep Maid Marian pure, like Dot was trying to keep Princess Vespa pure. But the way she did it was just...
There's a lot of similarities.
Right? This is like the same movie. I just
like, all right, short wedding. Here we go.
I just did not enjoy that character. The way she did that was annoying to me. So that's something I didn't like. Let's go back to Ashley.
Well, it's not a nice transition from characters. But one thing that I did not like in this movie were all the references that were dated. They really did not age well. Because this movie came out in 1993, and a lot of the references in this film are definitely indicative of that.
Ashley, don't you every morning get your high tops and pump them up? Don't you do that? Oh,
absolutely not. Absolutely not. One of the ones that definitely stood out to me the most was the Air Jordan reference where he says, like, time out. I'm running out of air. I gotta get it pumped. And then there was a reference to walking this way, and everyone walked this way. He made a reference to white men can't jump. He talked about South Central, where they were talking about Will Scarlett O'Hara, and he said he was from Georgia, and he goes, "Where from? South Central?" And there was, in Maid Marian's castle, when she finds out the plot of Don Giovanni collaborating with the Sheriff of Rottingham, she claps her hands and the lights come on. There's a clapper reference there. And one thing that really stood out was at the archery contest. They were doing the Arsenio Hall. Woo, woo,
yes.
And I'm like, had I not known about Arsenio Hall, that reference would have been lost on me completely. So a lot of them, they just have not aged well.
So, well, is it that they haven't aged well, or that they won't be picked up on by people that weren't raised in the 80s and 90s? Do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Both. I think it's a little bit of both, because I had to really think about some of them, especially that Arsenio Hall reference, and I'm like, that seems really familiar. And it seems familiar, but I couldn't place it, and then I had to look it up a little bit. I'm like, yeah, they totally did that on there. And
you know what, I didn't mind those so much. I almost feel like those are Easter eggs for people that are old timers like us. Well, mainly Paul, but
Get out my can.
That's me.
I say it in
right.
love. But
Truth hurts.
Oh my gosh.
Ouch.
Oh gosh. Now I feel bad. But yeah,
you shouldn't.
Those references didn't really bother me, but I could see how they would bother you, because they are very like grounded in the time as opposed to being more broad, which I think probably the broader elements do resonate and are a bit more enjoyable and funny. But they didn't bother me. Regardless, though, something that did bother me, I don't know why this bothers me so much. Shackles around your wrists are not grappling hooks. They're not going to connect with the bars when you're trying to escape. They're just going to keep pulling them down.
Yeah.
I know that's ridiculous.
That's
just
it's ridiculous.
So much.
It's ridiculous to me as like that 14-year-old, 15-year-old boy is supposed to be like an 8-year-old Home Alone
Oh my gosh,
kid.
that was now okay. Actually, with that one, I can get on board with, because that was really annoying. That was not funny.
It wasn't.
Oh,
they should have got an 8-year-old blonde or something.
Or yeah. An 8-year-old would have been fine, but
or just go a different character altogether.
Yeah, I don't think that gag is any good, and I don't see.
Yeah.
Even at the time with the Home Alone craze, I don't see how that's really that funny. So I don't know. Okay, then I think. Baba says, "Jeepers, the walk this way joke was dead when." Well, here's the thing though: the walk this way joke is he does that in several of his movies. He did that in Young Frankenstein, so it's almost like he's teasing himself. I don't know if he's in other movies. But.
I think it's more. It's what some people think is that it's a negative thing that he recycles a lot of old jokes, but I look at it as more like an homage or a tip to his previous ones. I look at it as a positive thing, but I see how other people look at it as a negative.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Okay, guys. Let's get into the things we hated most about Robin Hood Man in Tights. I mean, these things made us feel. I was going to say.
Tell you the truth, this guy's starting to get on my nerves.
That's actually a great way of putting it, Richard Lewis. Thank you. So I'm going to start with Paul this time. What's something you hated most about this film?
This transitions from what we were just talking about, but
perfect.
I've found a lot of the humor. I feel a lot of it, unfortunately, is like childish. It's kind of like what Ashley said is over the top. And I feel like, I would have enjoyed this much more as a 10-year-old, but as an adult, it's just like, I don't find a lot of it all that funny as much as I was hoping I would.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Makes me sad. Ashley, what was your tragic maker?
It's similar to Paul's. It's the blatant innuendo of this film. It lacked subtlety on so many levels.
Okay.
Just all the different references that are in the film. I can think of several talking about the greatest treasure in the land and the key to my heart. And when Robin is serenading Maid Marian and they're behind the sheet and there's this visual reference at the end and the sheet drops and it's just his sword and all his men are just disappointed. And
I guess I'm a child because I found that funny.
Even in the introduction to Little John, he goes, in real life, I'm really big. And then he says, I'll take your word for it. I'm just like, oh, cringe.
Oh, but that's subtle, isn't it? No?
And one of the most cringe-tastic parts in the movie for me, and it's blatant innuendo, when the Sheriff of Rottingham is meeting with the Dom DeLuise, Don Giovanni, he has this pet lizard, and he says that your lizard is limp, and he starts trailing off about, well, at my age, and then he goes, no, your lizard is asleep, and he goes, Charlie, and there's all of it. It's just so blatant, and I'm like, oh, I cringe.
I didn't catch it, so it wasn't that blatant.
I cringed every single time there were references like that, because I guess I'm more of a Puritan than I thought I was.
Okay, that's fair.
It just lacked subtlety, and every time something like that happened, I just couldn't help but cringe.
Okay. That's totally fair, yeah. As something's making you uncomfortable in a movie, that's totally going to decrease your enjoyment of it. Speaking of decreasing enjoyment, my tragic maker was, there were two elements of real pacing that just like, this movie's clicking along, but let's just tank the pacing. Let's just make this feel like a slog. And the first one of those for me was the opening credits. Now I get that it's thematic. They're trying to be like, oh, this is Robin Hood. We're going to do flaming arrows. It's going to be cool. And it is nice getting sort of the overture of the music. But it just lasts too long, and I almost rather them just have the credits over the rappers, because it's like 2 intros. I'm like, no, just get into this movie already. And I feel like you need the setup that the rappers are giving you, especially if you don't know who Robin Hood is. But yeah, that just was too long. So, but that's at the start of the film, so you buckle through that. Okay, it clips along pretty good until you get to the Don Giovanni scene. I remember even as a kid, I'm like, this is so boring right now. Can we please? Why are we?
He's talking like this.
I mean, maybe
an homage to The Godfather, even using direct dialogue. I feel you.
And maybe it's because I'm not a fan of The Godfather. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is, but it's not a movie that it's like, oh, the best movie ever. No, that's reserved for Spaceballs. No. It's just that whole scene just goes on too long. For all they're trying to get at is like, okay, we need to get Robin to come to an archery contest so we can assassinate him, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. Yeah, like you said, actually, because it needs to be a Godfather reference. I'm like, I don't need that.
That guy did look like Clint Eastwood.
He did.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, that was
that was great casting.
Yes, but it also. Dom DeLuise is so funny. I feel like this was the wrong role for him. It's just like you wasted it with all this Godfather stuff.
Should have reprised his role as Tiger, huh?
The only part of that scene that I laughed at is when he took the cotton balls out. That's probably the only laugh I got.
Yes. And I did enjoy when Roger Reese says, "Wow-wee," with all the medals. There's just something just very, I don't know, childlike about that I enjoyed. But
childish. There we go. That's what I said. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Paul. How many? That's what you should have been counting, Baba. By the way, how many times I say "bite me"? Not very cool.
Many, many times.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, guys. Now that we have entered all our targeting information into the firing computer, Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo at the ready. On your mark.
Okay, guys, let's determine whether or not we think Robin Hood Men in Tights is a classic. We'd recommend anyone go see this film, whether or not they've seen it before. Like it's a great Robin Hood film on its own, or if you've seen other Robin Hoods, it's a great one to also add to it that like lampoons Robin Hood really well. Or is it a nostalgic? If you had fun watching it as a kid, it'd probably be a good shot to rewatch today. But if you've never seen it before, you're probably not going to get as much out of it as you might hope to. Or a tragic, it's not worth anyone's time today. Don't watch it if you've never seen it before, and don't sully any good memories you have of it with a rewatch. Let's start with our guest, Ashley. What is your final rating for Robin Hood Men in Tights?
That would be nostalgic.
Oh, okay. Nostalgic. So the same thing as you predicted.
Yes.
Okay. I was a little surprised. I really thought you were going to go tragic with this, but okay. Yeah.
Oh really? No. I don't say that there is enough really in the film to dissuade me from thinking that it's nostalgic. Mm-hmm. I still have fond memories of my very first viewing of this film with my cousins when I was on vacation. Mm-hmm. And any movie that I saw during that time, spending time with relatives, like I still have those fond memories. And even though there's enough in this movie that just makes me cringe, it's not enough to not detract from all the good parts of the movie.
Did this part that made you cringe, did they make you cringe as like a 10-year-old when you watched it as well? Like, do you recall, or?
It was over my head as a kid.
Okay.
Most of the innuendo was over my head. Okay. And now as a woman in her mid-30s, she's just like, ugh.
Totally fair. Paul, what was your final rating for this film?
How dare you talk to me in that fashion? Who are you?
I'm Robin Vloxley. Oh, yes, Robin Vloxley. I've heard of you. Pretty handy with a sword. Let's find out.
Let's not, as I also rate it nostalgic. Like I said, I found a lot of the humor. It just didn't like land on my funny bone, but I thought there was enough good things, the cast and the story and everything behind it, that I thought there was a lot of good in it to keep it in the nostalgic area. Okay. I don't know.
Man, guys, you know what? It's weird. Like, I was thinking classic. I was thinking I'd go with classic, but hearing...
Wait. Are we going to deter from our Mel Brooks ratings from the past?
I mean, we've already have, apparently. But I was just going to say, hearing the negative aspects you've brought to this, I'm not sure. But let me go through my process. Is it quotable? Yes. I still quote it.
Definitely quotable.
Would I show it to my kids? Yeah, I think I would when they're like in their tweens. I think it's fun and they would enjoy it. Is it enjoyable for me? I did enjoy it. It wasn't as funny. Yeah. It wasn't as funny as I was hoping it would be. You guys sort of commented to that, but
come on, Carrie Elwes as Robin Hood?
Right? So I'm gonna stick with my prediction and say classic. But regardless of what I said, according to the Retro Rewind podcast, we rate Robin Hood Men in Tights a disputed nostalgic film. If you liked it as a kid, or whenever you saw it last, if you liked it, you'll probably like it again, and you're not gonna feel like you squandered your time in rewatching it. But if you've never seen it before, what Robin Hood movie would you guys suggest if someone hasn't seen this before, but they're like itching to watch a Robin Hood movie?
The Disney animated version with the foxes.
Oh my gosh.
I have to second that.
Oh my gosh. Really? No Prince of Thieves fans? Fine. I'd say Prince of Thieves.
No, definitely not. I'd much rather
never have
watch
seen
this.
that, nor do I have any desire to see that.
Oh, we gotta stop. Full stop. Why'd you have no desire to see it?
Not a Costner fan.
All right.
That's
all
hard
right.
to beat.
Can't really work your way around that.
He's practically in the whole film.
Practically? But aren't you an Alan Rickman fan?
He's okay.
Okay. All right, fine.
he's fantastic in Die Hard. I love him in Die Hard.
All right. And in Quigley Down Under?
He's a better Prince John.
And Galaxy Quest?
I haven't seen that movie all the way through.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay. I enjoy it a lot.
Wow. I guess we all know our homework, don't we?
My homework list is never ending.
Are I was going to ask about Star Wars, but we can save that for post.
I've seen every single Star Wars movie.
No, but as you're going through, where are you in
the
your
Clone Wars?
rewatch?
The Clone Wars rewatch.
Season 3 of Clone Wars.
Okay.
Just started on season 3.
Nice. I know you've seen all the movies. I wasn't calling that into question. All right, guys. Well, you know what? Now that we've read Robin Hood Men in Tights, Disputed Nostalgic, let's get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX.
Comsat online. Receiving incoming transmission.
I'm glad that never gets old.
Feels good to be back. But we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1993 to begin with if it weren't for our truly amazing reflux capacitors, namely Jared Holzhauer, Deborah Powers, Brian Keene, Patrick Hicks, LJ Lowry, Chris Cowan, the Film and Film Podcast, Chris Owens, Geek Devotions, The Untold Podcast, Mrs. Lomax, James Cass, and Daryl Hafner, Kevin Joshua Burnham, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Cronberry, oh my gosh, you're right here, Pastor Dewston, Kennethan, Redeemed Utaku, and new patron Ryan Lingle, in addition to 5 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you all so much for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to keep us flying for as little as $1 a month and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to see how.
Also,
this stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
While we're thanking our supporters, we also want to give a big Sherwood Forest hug to our subscribers on Twitch.
Yes.
Which is another way to send us a couple bucks a month. And if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe for free. You can find out how at retrorewindpodcast.com/Twitch Prime.
But say you don't have the extra cash every month for Twitch or Patreon or Subscribestar, but you still want to support us in some way. You could do a one-off buy of some of our merch. You could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. But even better than that is sharing your favorite episode of the podcast, whether it was this episode or another one, with one of your friends. I mean, whether you listen for the banter, the trivial tidbits, or the occasional insight, we would love more people to enjoy Retro Rewind Podcast for that same reason. So please be kind and share Retro Rewind.
Time out! Excuse me, bad guys. I am running out of air. Gotta get pumped.
Retro...
Okay, honkies. Time in.
RetroRewindPodcast.com/208 is the place to find timestamps for this episode, links to contact us, and links for voting on the movies you want us to review. Speaking of, the next 3 movies for our Sci-Fright season. Yes, Sci-Fright is about to begin, and the next 3 movies are locked in. We will be covering Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Men in Black, and Ghostbusters.
I thought you were going to say Men in Tights.
Men in Black and Tights. No, and for Men in Black or Ghostbusters, if you want to be in the running for potentially guest hosting on those, then you need to join our Discord, and I'll be putting, by the time you hear this, not you live in chat, but by the time this releases, by the time you're listening to this in podcast form, there will be a...
Next year.
Next year?
Yeah,
What?
people listen to go back in old episodes like, hey, I'm a new listener. I like Robin Hood Men in Tights. I'm going to go listen to them.
Okay, I'm talking about this year. Yes, whenever you listen to this in the future, from day of release into the future, you can go back, but it might be too late to sign up to be a guest for Ghostbusters or Men in Black. That's all I was trying to say.
But you can still sign up to be a guest.
Yes, whatever movie's up now, you sign up to be a guest.
Okay.
And though our website is the only place you can vote for our movies, that's not the only place you can reach us. Paul, where else can people find the show and also yourself?
PaulJPowers.com. You can find me and this podcast there. You can feel free to talk to us and share anything you like or find funny that is 15 years or older on our social media. We are Retro Rewind Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and join our Discord server by going to retrorewindpodcast.com/Discord. Also, as I have mentioned, we are on Twitch. You can watch and chat with us live as we record this podcast right now, or play video games or create pixel art. You can follow us at twitch.tv/retrorewindpod like these fine folks in the chat are doing right now.
Bobo, John, Dapperman. Yes.
Yeah. And if you want to find me, Paul J. Powers, go to pauljpowers.com.
Thank you, Paul, for being a merry podcaster, a friend, and co-host. I'm super thankful that we get to do this show together.
Oh, merry podcaster.
Oh my gosh, seriously?
No, but thank you so much. I do appreciate doing this with you each and every time. And we're so grateful to our guests taking time to discuss Robin Hood Men in Tights with us. Ashley Crowenbitter, thank you so much for being a patron and selecting this movie that Francisco has been waiting forever to watch.
Yes. Thank you, Ashley.
So please tell us how we can find you online, and is there anything you'd like to promote?
Nothing really to promote, but I can be found predominantly on Twitter at APK1186. Catch me as I tweet my way through viewing the Star Wars official canon. I also like to tweet about Jesus and all sorts of different bits of pop culture, movies, music, nerdy things. And you can find me at the same username on Instagram. I like to post pictures of my various Redbubble purchases, pictures of my cat, my Funko Pops, nerdy things like that.
Awesome. Yay. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being a part of the show. It's been great. I feel like we've had you several times in the span of just a few months, and it's been a joy every time. So thank you for continuing to come back. I'm glad we haven't scared you off.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Been a blast every time.
Oh, good.
A blast from the past.
But that's not all. You're not the only one I appreciate. I mean, you and Paula are fine people, but mostly I appreciate you. Yes, you listening right now. Ashley, Paul, I assume you're listening to this. If you're not, why aren't you? Robin, Richard, Carrie, Roger. Did I say Roger already? Regardless, whether this is your first time listening to the show or you're a part of our Rewinder community, thanks for spending time with us, and we pray you are more joyful now than when you first hit play. I have been and continue to be Francisco Ruiz. Find me on Twitter at FXRetro_ or Instagram at FXRUIZX, and DM me there for pixel art commissions.
And finally, we are honored to be part of the Christian Geek Central Network at ChristianGeekCentral.com.
You can catch us at CGC or our website, but like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for Star Trek II, The Wrath of Francisco seeing Khan for the first time, our next episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to nav point Omega and return to base.
Check, please. Table 1.
Wow, that was great. Let's review another adventure.
I mean, I guess.
Oh, yes, let's do it.
It's something that man was not meant to disturb. Trust me.
Are you making this up as you go along? Yeah?
You don't believe me. You will, Dr. Jones.
So should I accomplish? Full throttle? No break.
Those people are trying to kill us. I know, Dad!
It's a new experience for me.
Happens to me all the time.
Yes, welcome to your eighth installment of Young Indiana Jones, and somehow Ashley keeps getting roped into these episodes when we cover this show of yore. But this time we're going through each episode of Young Indiana Jones. Well, each chapter, I guess. This is chapter 8 we're covering, called Trenches of Hell. And Paul, will you please give us sort of the technical aspects of this TV show combination thing before we get into a quick just rundown of the likes and dislikes we had for this episode?
All right. Chapter 8, Trenches of Hell, combines 2 episodes. The first episode is called Some Early August 1916. The second one's called Germany Mid-August 1916. Do you want to cover the plot?
I'll do my best. I'm going to try really hard to keep this to I'll do a sentence each. Might be a little run on.
Read the Wikipedia summary.
No, I don't need to do that. I can do this.
But yes, you do. The previous 2 times have proved it so.
Third time's a charm, Ashley. Third time's a charm. Here we go.
So you say. So you say.
In the first episode, what did you call it? What was it called, Paul? The Somme? Ballad of the Somme?
No, just Somme. I think it's the place.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Indy is in a trench warfare, essentially going against Germans as him and the Belgian unit, which are now under the command of the French, are trying to take a chateau to have the high ground. And unfortunately, at the very end, he gets captured. So I think that was one sentence.
It was kind of long, but you did it. Good job. Let's see you can do it again.
Okay, and then the second episode, Midsummer in Germany or something like that, is where he's now been imprisoned. He goes through escaping both a sort of minimal security German prison, and again, remember this is World War I, so we're not talking concentration camps or anything. World War I prison, and then gets moved on to a castle that's even harder to escape, but he Alcatrazes Sean Connery's his way out of that to escape on a bike ride into the credits rolling.
Welcome to the Rock. That was 2 sentences, but
dang it.
Yes, good job.
Well, I had to talk about the concentration camp thing, so yeah.
Yeah,
what
that was
do you
actually
think,
more. But...
Ashley, how'd I do?
Better.
Okay. All right, I'll take it.
How'd this episode do? Well, we'll get to that at the end.
Well, I mean, but let's talk about something you liked about this episode. You can break it up like one thing from each episode, or just one thing overall. Ashley, was there anything you liked?
Maybe.
Well, I will say, last episode. Sorry to cut you off just as I asked you a question, but I do recall you saying in the last Indiana Jones one, you wish there were more stakes, like these. If he went into the trench warfare or World War I, it would mean something. So did that pan out for you? Does that go? Maybe that goes into your light.
I will say, like, having to see the setting of World War I, knowing that it was such a devastating loss of life, and just hearing, we're introduced at the very start of the episode, hearing that of his 264 members of the troop, that only 70 made it, and just hearing all this devastation, a lot happened. It was a little more than I was expecting, and I'm kind of like biting my tongue over wishing all of that because it's really hard to watch. But I will say, of both of the episodes, I always enjoy the music in all of these episodes of Young Indiana Jones, because I feel like it does a really great job of capturing, and I say this about movies, I say this about everything, but it does a really great job of capturing the emotionality of the scene, of what the characters are going through. As we're getting introduced, we have this ominous and foreboding music, and as we're introduced to Indy in the scene, it becomes more melancholic as they talk about the loss of life of his troops and how they lost all their commanding officers. So I did really enjoy that. And I did enjoy the second episode when they were in the prison and just the Russians and their plots and trying to get out. So it was nice to have some comedic relief after all the intensity of the first episode where people are just dying left and right.
Paul, how did you feel about the intensity? Did that take away from your likes? Or
I thought it was great.
Okay.
I
love seeing people die by the thousands. This is amazing.
I thought it was well done because at certain parts I was like almost trying not to bite my nails.
Yeah,
like, my gosh, is this really? So I wasn't expecting that from the previous episodes we've seen. So it just jumped in there, and I was really impressed by that. I'll go on to some parts I wasn't impressed by, but I also I liked how this first part flowed into the second part.
Yes.
Like it actually made sense this time.
Right?
It was the most seamless of all the transitions that we've had. I didn't even realize the second episode had started. That was really surprising.
Yes.
So that was interesting to see. And I like the adventure quality of like the puzzle solving of like, okay, we're trapped in here, how do we get out? And then once that is done, it's like then there's these other problems, and it was constantly solving, and I enjoyed that ride.
I'll say that second episode felt the most Indiana Jones of all this series because it is like, oh, we're facing this new problem. Now, how do I overcome it? Now, a new problem. How do I overcome it? And like, and then things randomly happens. Like, oh, that wasn't part of the plan. Okay, now I got to figure some other way out of this. So I did appreciate that a lot. Like, I felt like this was like a breath of fresh air. I still wish there was some artifact thereafter, but freedom. Okay, I'll take that.
It's the best characterization of Indiana Jones that has been portrayed for me as someone who has not seen the films.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that you haven't seen the films.
So I definitely will need to do that at some point, but that was the best characterization that I've gotten of Indy thus far.
Okay, yeah. And he definitely felt. Oh, I still remember. Actually, were you here when it was the Thomas Edison motor that got stolen, or maybe that was Danae? Yeah, but it was one of these where he is just goo over this girl in high school, and then there's, I think you were here for the Summer of Love or whatever it was one.
Yeah,
it's such a 180 from that indie to this more grizzled, like, oh man, I've seen some stuff. Things are serious.
The throes of war changes a man.
Yeah. And I wish he didn't have to go through. I wish none of those people had to go through that. But I appreciate who he became after that. Characterized anyway. For the first one, I'll just say with you, Paul. Yeah, it was really intense, and how they portrayed World War I. I thought they did a very. From what I know, I feel like they did a good service to portraying how horrible that was.
Yeah.
Though,
yeah,
go ahead.
And I was about to say, I wasn't expecting how well it was done for a TV show.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yeah. That could have been in a movie. Maybe not one of today's movies, but that definitely could have been a movie when this came out. Yeah. So, okay. So there are definitely things we liked about this episode. I feel like this episode sort of has stood out as some we've liked more than past ones, but maybe we'll undermine it here. See, because they're digging out, undermining. What were the things?
There's no mines under there.
A mine. What were the things we didn't like about this episode?
It's a terrible thing of the waste.
Ashley, give it to us. What didn't you care for about this?
I didn't like the stereotypical antagonist with a facial scar. I just thought that was so...
Oh, Jacques?
Jacques.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I really didn't care for him at all, and the fact that he had his band, we didn't need him, but it was just like so stereotypical to have a character with a facial scar who's creating all these problems for the main character. And just when you're introduced to him, he's holding his bayonet and he's just sliding it down his face. Mm-hmm. And what he said really stood out to me. He said, "It's good to kill with this. It's like butter." And I'm like, ugh!
Yeah, right?
And every scene that he was in, it just made me cringe. And I'm like, he's just so stereotypical, and we really didn't need him in there because I don't really feel like he added to anything.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, I gotta disagree with both of you on that. I thought he was great. He was written to not be liked.
Yeah.
And at first, I didn't like him.
Yeah.
Having him in there. And I didn't like being thrown in there. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to get to this point?
Mm-hmm.
What I feel like I'm missing a huge part of the story. But then I realized that missing information added to the mystery of this guy. So that I enjoyed that little mystery aspect, and I also enjoyed, I thought he did bring a sense of danger. Not only is Indy worried about getting it, hit from the enemy coming at him, but he also has to worry about, his own men attacking him. So I thought it added another level of drama there. So that's something I did enjoy, but something that I didn't enjoy.
Okay.
Is I thought I don't know if I've seen too many movies and I'm an American cowboy now, but when they distribute the gas over the trenches, I thought, great, they're providing cover. Why aren't they running? They got their gas mask on. They should be rushing, and they're not
Germans
firing.
rushing, or the
Germans
French?
who the Germans who fired tear gas. All of a sudden, there's smoke everywhere. No one can see. The French and the Belgians should be running after the Germans in the cover of that fog and the gas with their gas mask on. Instead, they just stay there. Then here comes some slow-moving, walking, oh, what is that fire coming at him? I'm not going to shoot at him. I'm just going to stay here and scream and not run. And it's just ridiculous. So I don't know what you're doing in war and you're scared and you don't know what you're going to do if you are in a scenario till you're in it. But come on. Like, yippee-ki-yay, let's go for these guys.
Yeah, the flamethrowers should have never had the way to advance as far as they did.
Yeah.
My brother actually watched this episode with me.
Oh, wow.
And that was something that he said. He said, flamethrowers, they should have been long gone. Because they would have had to move very slowly into that. They should have gone out in the cover of the fog.
Yes.
But
right.
The flamethrowers, they were far too close. How did they get that range? Why didn't they move?
Yeah, it's like they almost, the way they were blocking it, or the way they're sort of cutting it, editing it, almost felt like you were getting the impression, oh my gosh, is this like a dragon or some creature coming toward me? I don't know what to do here. But I mean, I feel like you have plenty of time. You start hearing what it is, and I imagine this is something that they have as well. So why they don't just start shooting them right away? I mean, because you can see exactly where they are. I mean, they're giving their position away, the flamethrower guys, because they're just spraying wildly. Now, I think it would have been much better if the flamethrower guys rushed in. Oh, here's the trench, and I think they could have gotten way more of them. But yeah, I don't get why they didn't just start shooting right away at whatever was coming at them. But I don't agree with you, Paul, that the Belgians and French have rushed in, because you don't know what's there. I mean, for all you know, they laid booby traps the day before or something. And
well, they were going to rush that anyway.
I guess that's fair. Good point.
And something else, one more thing I didn't like.
Okay, because I want to get back to this whole Jock thing, but okay, go ahead.
I don't know who Jock is,
but
I
Scar
enjoyed
guy.
him.
The Scar guy.
Yeah. Anyway, moving along. One of the things that I haven't enjoyed in the past few episodes is that if they are introducing historical characters, they're not well known enough, at least famous enough that I would recognize them. And I kind of miss that. Now, I don't want them randomly thrown in there like, oh, here's Walt Disney. He's 11 years old. What's he doing in Belgium, or Germany right now, or, something. Yeah. But I miss the famous character interactions and lessons he would learn from them.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just something that he did as a boy, or maybe this English poet that he met is famous. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Sassoon? I've never
heard of it. It would have been way cooler if he met J.R.R. Tolkien. That would have been awesome. Yeah. But I don't think the English were fighting at this point. So just change the years. I'm aware.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, let me get back to Jacques real quick. So
okay, go back to Jacques.
Here's a retro rewind, where Francisco tells you how the TV show should have been written, also known as Francisco's Fabulous Fanfiction. It's fabulous. Okay, I think it would have been so much better and such a cooler through line if they took that one guy from the first episode who steals the statue of the jackal, who then you meet in Mexico. Instead of exploding, he gets away. He ends up being a part of this unit, and Indy has to work with him. And now he's really like, oh my gosh, this guy, I can't trust him. And then he gets blown up in an explosion. I think that would have been a way more satisfying ending to him than just this random ammunition explosion in Mexico. So what do you think of that, Paul? Would that have been better than Jacques, do you think?
That would have added an element, but I wouldn't want to see him exploded. I wanted to see him coming back, and he could be an arch nemesis.
Oh, okay. I am down with that.
He would be the guy, Belloc, who's always stealing from him.
Yes. Oh, that would be so good if that was Belloc and they just.
Yeah.
I think he's be a little too old because isn't he an adult in the first episode when Indy's like 11?
Well,
or
he
something?
is older than Indy in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay, this is a character from Raiders of the Lost Ark, Ashley. I think that would have been a great setup. Oh my goodness, why?
Opportunity lost.
Right? Totally missed opportunity. Okay, well, regardless, I think that sums up unless either of you have final thoughts on this episode. Paul, I kept forgetting our ranking. We were doing like ranking of each episode at one point, but
forget it.
Yeah, we kind of lost that. Would you say, I'm curious, do you feel like this is your favorite so far? And Ashley, of the 3 you've seen now, is this your favorite, least favorite? How would you rank it among the ones you've seen?
It's definitely the best of the 3 that I've seen.
All right.
But it's all still womp womp.
I know.
You had to bring in the
Oh, by the way, you can't play tennis on cobble streets.
Oh, right? That was, oh my gosh, what was that?
Ugh, so bad.
Paul, how about you? Did you like this one above the others, or is it just they're all too?
There are elements that I like it more than any other episode, but I also enjoy the innocence and the fun frivolity of the younger Indiana Jones.
Okay,
that I kind of miss.
That's fair. I was actually this was the first episode where even though I did watch it at 1.5 speed, I think I would have been fine at 1x speed. So I definitely like this one above all the rest the most. So it's given me new hope that maybe there's more in the series that may not be. No, dang it!
No, that's false hope, Francisco.
Yeah,
and I'm saying this as someone who probably will not see anymore. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, this is kind of like an accident. A good accident.
Yes, totally. Okay, that's fair. Well, I'll try not to raise my expectations, but thank you everyone for who's, I don't know if any of you have been watching these episodes along with us, but if you have, let us know. I'd love to hear what your experiences are with Young Indiana Jones, but we're still having fun doing this. And thank you. Hey, John, glad you're still here. Indiana Jones: A New Hope. Exactly, Bobo. Exactly. Except apparently I'm not supposed to have a new hope, but whatever. All right. Well,
like next chapter is called Demons of Deception, and I doubt it's anything to do with spiritual warfare.
Keep those expectations nice and low.
All right. All right. So for me, for Ashley, for Paul, thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Whoopah!
Toodaloo. Au revoir. Auf Wiedersehen. Ciao. Ding dao day.